So our initial investigation into becoming CMMC Level 1 compliant was in order to get federal subcontracting and the logging and forestry primary and secondary market. Since there was going to be confidential information that would be transacted between our organization and the federal government, obviously they have compliance and regulatory procedures which you have to meet. So we met together as a board and to start a discovery process to figure out exactly how we could become compliant. And there is how we actually met your organization, Miami Cyber. Knowledge. Anybody that is in this space understands that since there is so much disinformation and there is a plethora of facts and disputed facts and things of that nature and false advertisers, if you will, in the space, being able to accurately decipher what is true and being able to implement that inside your organization is probably the #1 key, especially in the beginning of this process. That's a very interesting question. We would think that initially it would just be efficiency factors, but outside of just improving our efficiency as an organization, being able to talk with inside different organizations or departments with inside of our corporation, but more importantly, what business owners I would advise them to understand is that the more cohesive that you have policies within your organization, it opens up the availability to AI on a scale that you would never normally see with inside of an organization that did not have policies and procedures and protocols put into place. Right, so the hardest component of this was actually access control. Most people have the if it's not broke, don't fix it type of mentality. The federal requirements are very strict and stringent, so access control is one of their biggest priorities. So when we start looking at how are people getting into the data, how are they using the data, let alone migrating, things of that nature, it can become very complex. So establishing rules, protocols, and processes for data access and management it's complicated but necessary in order to grow your organization. It's kind of daunting, especially when we're working in the commodities field, which is logging. Logging is notoriously, behind when it comes to technology, and especially technology with inside its own ecosystem. Yes, so Miami Cyber, initially when we contacted them and reached out, the first thing that we were told that we needed to do was a needs assessment to see exactly where we were at, which incorporated an on-site visit. That wasn't very important because as a technology business that is in cybersecurity, they don't know what they don't know about our industry, and we also concurrently in the logging and forestry space don't understand necessarily. If we don't understand that we have a lack, we can't have a need. So by able to coming in and doing a needs assessment and then sitting down with us as business owners and saying, I understand that you've done this for quite a long time. Here are the dangers, here are the things that you can correct, and then more importantly, laying out the future, that was very important. So this was a very interesting business that I took on. This is probably my 5th or 6th investment opportunity that I've had, that I've walked into. This was by far the worst when it came to the technology or lack thereof. There was no user protocols, there was no users. Everybody was using one share file for the whole entire $1 million corporation. I coined the term naked and afraid, essentially is where the business was at. Concurrently, as we were just rolling out, we had paid for the invoice and we were just starting the whole process, we actually got hacked. And we had one of our laptops, which was a soft point of hacking. Somebody got into one of our laptops that was used by the same user account as everybody else and had installed the ransomware software that day. So if we had not started this process ahead of time, we would have been in a really bad spot. But since we had, we were able to quarantine and be able to move over to our platform a little bit earlier than we had initially thought, which was beneficial for our business, definitely moving forward with the security aspect. I mean, obviously most people that are business owners, we have enough information about computers to make us dangerous, right? However, when it comes to hacking, ransomware, that's outside of anybody that's not in that field speciality. So I contacted Miami Cyber, who immediately told me to shut it off the internet, get it off the Wi-Fi, and then quarantine it. More importantly, we had to go through and extract all of our data that had not been corrupted and actually, as I said, migrate earlier to our new platform so that we could quarantine things that had not been infected, and then the things that had been infected we had to erase and then reinstall. But the point being is, if we had not started this process, there's not a doubt in my mind that we would have been held for ransom. It was the software that you see all over the news. It was on our laptop, and if it had gotten to our Wi-Fi, since we did not have user settings, it would have been able to penetrate into all of our software systems, and that would have shut us down for a number of days. You cannot have a successful overhaul without those two things. If the management or investment structure is not talking to the cybersecurity expert who's able to see these faults or these things that we have within inside of our systems, if we don't have that correlation where they're talking to as principals to this expert, there's going to be a loss in communication or lost in translation. Things are going to get misconstrued, and that could add days, if not weeks, to your timeline, which could eventually, as in the case of our ransomware thing, it could have cost us a lot of money in our business. 100%. So the interesting thing now that we're in the AI space is we're able to see the uses of the AI or the AI software, Microsoft 365, between the different people in our office. Even if I can't see it visibly, now I can see it from my desktop management software. It really has been quite a blessing to see people that were kind of hesitant in the beginning of this whole process now that are actually using AI to draft documents, draft emails, and look for parts and inventory when they were unknowledgeable about space 6 months ago. Yeah, so that whole premise that we've discussed, which is architecture before adoption, I want everybody that's going to watch this video to understand that if you do not have architecture before you have adoption, you're going to go back and have to redo what you're doing. So we need to sit down, game plan, have an architectural structure, come up with rules, policies, and protocols, and then enact those and adopt those as an organization. If we do not do stuff like that in the beginning, you will have to go back and redo your processes later. So you see the smile on my face now, right? So in our forestry primary and secondary market, they're not even using blockchain or QR codes or barcodes or anything. Everything's done by paper. So as we've already pivoted in our corporation, but as we're pivoting other corporations, it's attracted the interest of the state, for instance, of Michigan, who has us coming to a summit to talk about these very things. So being able to pivot, as you say, into this space has optimized, made it more efficient, but also has opened up the availability of making compliance and regulation easier to attain than it would have been with just regular paper. Contact a cybersecurity person. As business owners, we don't know what we don't know. So have an expert educate you and your staff as to the advancement opportunities for your organization just by efficiency factors, the cybersecurity aspect to make sure that your systems cannot be penetrated by bad or false actors, and more importantly, making sure that you adopt it into the organization uniformly so that you can move forward. If you have not already done so to try to incorporate these processes so that you can gain access to artificial intelligence, I would implore you to do it immediately so that you don't get left behind over these next couple of years as the banks and the government institutions do migrate over to artificial intelligence and blockchain. Efficiency. We are one of the most regulated industries in logging and forestry. We've got EUDR compliance, LACI expansion compliance. We have all the state level things, the DNR. Most of those things are done manually through paper. With having a cybersecurity expert that has access to artificial intelligence, we're able to actually take some of those processes which have been by paper for the past 50 or 60 years and have the possibility of putting those on blockchain so that we have instantaneous compliance. That is an efficiency factor that will save our industry. I looked at it yesterday. It's $35 billion by 2030 by taking advantage of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. My recommendation, just based on the data that I've seen just for the past 6 months, so we haven't even got a whole year yet, if you're looking at a way to fine-tune your processes and be able to punch above your weight class, get with a cybersecurity expert that can look at your systems, come up with policies, procedures, and protocols. More importantly, get those deployed and adopted into your institution so that you, and I'm using this word, so that you qualify for using artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not just going to run the way you think it runs unless you have systems and architecture and adoption before you deploy it. So if you're looking at AI in the future for any of your processes, then you're going to want to get with an architect immediately so that you can get this process started. Anybody that's got a business that's over than 10 years is going to have multiple platforms. That may be accounting software, it could be different users with different computers, it could be different brands of different computers even, right? So as you're doing the migration, somebody has to have a relative basic knowledge of each system. I cannot be a person that's tied down to just Dell or just Microsoft. They have to have a knowledge of Hewlett-Packard and Apple's as well. So Miami Cyber, if they did not know exactly what to do in that process, had a resource that was an expert in their field that was available that they could make accessible to us free of charge at this point in order to be able to make sure that the processes that we had and that we were going to deploy were going to work, so that before we did it and made a step, we actually knew it would work, as opposed to taking a step and then having to go back and try to fix it later. The aspect of just having Miami Cyber and then hiring them to initially just do cybersecurity. So just off the top of my head, and I didn't prepare any notes for this, so it would be very real, but we did stuff with GoDaddy, we did stuff with Microsoft 365, we had QuickBooks, we had PNC Bank. I mean, I could keep going down our list of partners, but Miami Cyber and Matt specifically was able to have enough knowledge base so that each time we had to migrate or we had to make a move, there was at least the base knowledge there, or the expertise in some sections, so that when we did it, it was an educated step and not a guess. We're not allowed to make guesses as business owners. We have to make sure that we're doing everything that is going to be the most beneficial for our shareholders. So Matt was able to give us an expert opinion in real time, in less than 24 hours, on most any type of problem that we had. That was a huge success. As an investment banker, generally, if I want to go through a process, I have to hire 1 or 2 people or even 3 people in order to get a full picture. I just realized just having this conversation that I actually have not reached out to anyone else about cybersecurity or artificial intelligence since we've met, in fact. So having an expert on your team that you can trust, that is very knowledgeable, is an added benefit. Furthermore, as a person that pays attention to detail, getting an accurate scope of work, being able to have effective timelines for your shareholders, and then seeing the breakdown in a week or a quarter with roles, responsibilities, and timelines is very key, and it is an added benefit to anybody that actually wants to get through this process. So if you're looking for somebody that can give you a set timeline and a set date, with roles and responsibilities that are outlined, and then more importantly affect that, Miami Cyber was able to do that for our institution.